Why does nearly everything in life appear to change? Motions rise and fall, identities shift, beliefs evolve, circumstances transform you. Something in you seems untouched by all of it. Across cultures and historical periods, people describe moments of unusual clarity or stillness that occur even during intense chaos, grief, or psychological instability. These moments are not necessarily emotional highs. Often they arise when emotions are most unsettled. Modern thinking tends to explain depth through accumulation. The assumption is straightforward. More experiences should produce greater understanding. More knowledge should result in stronger grounding. More self-reflection should create inner stability. Yet lived experience often contradicts this logic. Many people report feeling less anchored the more information they absorb, the more roles they adopt, and the more narratives they construct about themselves. This contradiction points to a deeper question. What if depth is not something that develops, intensifies, or evolves over time? What if depth is something that remains unchanged while everything else fluctuates? According to Ibn Arabi, true depth is not located in emotions, thoughts, or identities. It is the underlying ground that remains stable while appearances transform. The modern psychological condition is increasingly characterized by instability. Emotional volatility, identity confusion, burnout, and chronic dissatisfaction are widely reported. Despite unprecedented access to information and self-development tools, many individuals experience a persistent sense of fragmentation. There is constant pressure to optimize oneself, refine identity, and maintain relevance in rapidly shifting environments. From a neuroscientific perspective, this instability is not accidental. The system responsible for self-referential thinking continuously reconstructs personal narratives. While this process is essential for planning and social functioning, excessive activation is associated with rumination and identity over attachment. Emotion regulation weakens under overstimulation. Attention is pulled toward novelty, threat, and comparison. Cognitive science reinforces this picture. The self is not processed as a fixed entity, but as a dynamic, predictive model that updates itself constantly. The tension arises when stability is sought, inside mental states that are structurally designed to fluctuate. The problem is not emotional, it is. Structural depth is being searched for in the wrong place. The framework offered here is not emotional or therapeutic, it is structural. The distinction is made between what appears and what remains. Mental states appear, emotions appear, sensory forms appear, conceptual identities appear. What remains is the condition that allows appearance at all. Depth is not produced by experience. Depth is what makes experience intelligible in the first place. A common misunderstanding equates depth with intensity. Strong emotion is taken as depth. Profound insight is taken as depth. Peak experience is taken as depth. This is a category error. States arise, they stabilize. Briefly, they dissolve, no matter how elevated or disturbing. States fluctuate. Depth does not. If depth were a state, it would increase and decrease. It would appear and disappear. But depth is defined precisely by Nan. Variation, awareness remains stable while the contents of consciousness change. Anxiety rises and falls. Joy rises and falls. Confusion rises and falls. The capacity to notice all of this remains constant. What remains unchanged, cannot be intensified, can only be recognized. Change is only intelligible against stability. This is not a mystical claim, it is a logical one. Movement cannot be detected without a reference point. Fluctuation cannot be perceived without continuity. Beliefs change across years. Identities shift across decades. Preferences evolve, yet the simple sense of being present does not disappear. Depth is not hidden beneath change. Depth is what allows change to be noticed at all another. Confusion arises when emotional intensity is mistaken for depth. Suffering is often interpreted as profundity. Pain is treated as insight. Yet intensity amplifies significance without increasing clarity. Emotional activation heightens meaning, not understanding. Crises feel deep because they disrupt habits. Clarity often arrives only after intensity subsides. Depth, in this framework, is quiet, stable, non-dramatic. It is often mistaken for emptiness because it lacks contrast. The personal self is not the seat of depth. It is a surface phenomenon. Identity is constructed through memory, reinforced socially and conditioned emotionally. It changes. The self is form. Depth is the ground of form. Personality evolves. Habits dissolve. Roles shift. Yet awareness does not age, searching for depth inside. Identity is a category error. Depth is not something the self possesses. It is what allows the self to appear. Paradox emerges. If depth is always present, why does it feel absent? Because depth lacks contrast. Human attention is biased toward change, movement, and intensity. What does not fluctuate is filtered out as irrelevant. What never moves does not announce itself. It cannot be possessed. It can only be recognized when the impulse to seek subsides. This is not passivity, it is perceptual realignment. In practical terms, this becomes simple. Instead of immediately regulating emotion, observe fluctuation. Notice that observation itself does not fluctuate. Stress appears within awareness, does not replace awareness. Stability increases without control or suppression. Clarity improves indirectly. Nothing is added. Misidentification relaxes. Change dominates experience. Depth underlies experience. The correction is not to become deeper, but to stop locating stability where fluctuation is unavoidable. Depth is not attained. It is uncovered by ceasing to look for it in what cannot remain. The transformation is quiet, structural. It is not about becoming profound. It is about recognizing what was never shallow. What remains unchanged was never hidden. It was simply overlooked because it never moved.